Hey everyone, this is IMAX Nation 1980 here with another episode of Vinyl Time. This album wasn't requested by anyone. I chose to show this one myself. This is actually a test video. I'm going to experiment with a new format for this series, and tell me what you think of it. Post what you think. Tell me if this format works or if I should just stick to the old format. So this is the Beach Boys' Sunflower. It was released August 31st, 1970, and it was the first Beach Boys album on Reprise. Of course, they revived Brother Records for this. Brother Records was only used for one album. That was Smiley Smile in 1967. Got the cover photo there. We have Brother Records. The album, they started recording the album in very early 1969, around January. But the album itself wouldn't be released until 1970. There were various versions of the album. Some working titles included Add Some Music, Reverberation, The Fading Rock Group Revival, and a couple other titles, I believe. But they were constantly rejected by Warner Brothers until they put together the final track listing. And a track listing that Warner Brothers themselves deemed suitable. You got the message there from Mo Ostin, who got the Beach Boys onto Reprise, Warner Brothers Reprise. He was the president of Warner Brothers Records at the time. Now, Sunflower was well liked by the critics, and it's considered one of the greatest Beach Boys albums of all time. But the album was a commercial failure, unfortunately. Got the photos in there. There's Brian Wilson with his good humor hat. Unfortunately, the album only hit 151 on the US chart and number 29 in the UK. Alright, here's a track listing. Dennis Wilson contributes a couple songs here. Slip On Through, Got to Know the Woman, It's About Time, and most importantly, Forever, which is considered to be one of his best songs. And of course, Brian Wilson contributed This Whole World, which I believe is one of the best tracks on the album, along with All I Want to Do. And Brian Wilson also wrote Cool, Cool Water, which is a Smile outtake revamped for this album. Add Some Music in Your Day was also written by Brian Wilson along with Joe Knott and Mike Love, and that was... Add Some Music was, of course, originally considered to be the title of Sunflower, and it was released as a single, and the B-side of that was Susie Cincinnati, which would later be released on Child of Winter, the B-side of that single, and then would be released on the album 15 Big Ones in 1976. Bruce Johnston contributes Deirdre, which was co-written with Brian Wilson, and Tears in the Morning, which was a big hit in the Netherlands. Brian Wilson also wrote Our Sweet Love along with Carl Wilson and Al Jardine, and he co-wrote At My Window with Al Jardine. So it's a pretty impressive track listing. The other writers included Greg Jacobson and Bob Birchman. Here you got the inner sleeve. Of course, the Lost Leaders in full stereo. It's in pretty good condition. There's a couple rips here, but a couple Warner Brothers double albums there. Now, again, I think the album failed because there wasn't really a big hit single from the album, and it's too bad because it is a great album, and they could have released Forever as a single and marketed the heck out of that, and then who knows? it did better in Europe, thankfully. And there's actually an alternate version of the album there in Europe, which contains Cotton Fields on the track listing, which they recorded in late 1968 for 2020, which was of course released in February of 1969. That version was more of a Baroque pop style version, so they redid it as more of a country sounding version, and that was a huge hit in Europe, but it didn't do a thing in the United States, unfortunately. So that was Sunflower, the Beach Boys' 1970 album. Of course, after Sunflower, the Beach Boys recorded the Surf's Up album, in which they had a new manager, Jack Riley, and it did better than Sunflower. Unfortunately, Sunflower would be the lowest charting Beach Boys album for 8 years until MIU came out in 1978, and that also hit 151 on the charts. So both albums were the lowest charting Beach Boys albums. It's an unfortunate shame for Sunflower, but it's got a cult following now. It's now considered a great album, and I think it's great too. Thank you for watching. Cymax Nation 1980 signing off.